LEIGHTDICKEY.com. Do you have an event or occasion coming up that could use a special touch? Perhaps a wedding, a production, a show? Good! Then you're in luck. Hayley Moores is who you're looking for. Hayley is a makeup artist in the Toronto, Ontario area, specializing in bridal, glam, natural, and special effects. She's incredibly talented, professional, easy to work with, and has a personality that is second to none. To book Hayley Moores today, follow her on Instagram at mad_milash, that's MAD_MILASH, or email her at madmilash, again, that's MADMILASH @gmail.com. Book Hayley Moores today, you'll be glad you did. LEIGHTDICKEY.com. LEIGHTDICKEY.com. Do you find yourself reminiscing on what life was like when you were younger? Do your favorite songs, movies, and TV shows instantly take you back to a simpler time? Great! Then you're in the right place. Join me, Leigh Dickey, on my new web series and podcast, Yo Nostalgia, where I cover everything you grew up with. From films and toys to fads and trends, Yo Nostalgia has it all. Subscribe on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and wherever podcasts are available. Follow along on social media at Yo Nostalgia Show to keep up on this time-traveling trip. Yo Nostalgia, breathing new life into your memories, available everywhere now. LEIGHTDICKEY.com. LEIGHTDICKEY.com. Hey, what's going on, everybody? Leigh Dickey here. Welcome to a brand new episode of the Beats and Speaks podcast. This week, I ask a question primarily of my fellow radio, television, media, and production people. Is the Electro Voice RE20 still the industry standard? Now, having worked in radio, television, and all things media the majority of my adult life, I don't know. So that's why I'm asking you, is the Electro Voice RE20 still the industry standard? Now, before we get into the main event, before we get into the main course and the meat of the episode as to why you are here, me asking whether or not the Electro Voice RE20 is still the broadcasting and media production standard, I want to tell you where you can find the Beats and Speaks podcast. Of course, new episodes of the Beats and Speaks podcast are available on my official website, LEIGHTDICKEY.com, Apple Podcasts, iTunes, Spotify, Google Play, and wherever podcasts are available. They are released every single Friday on your favorite podcast app and player of choice. We're also on YouTube under Leigh Dickey TV, so please go comment, like, share, and subscribe to the Beats and Speaks podcast on your platform of choice. Please do leave us a 5-star review and rate us 5 stars as well, as that helps us climb in the rankings. If you want to get in touch with the show, follow along on social media at Leigh T. Dickey. Email me at leightdickey@gmail.com just to get in touch, and or if you possibly want to be a guest on a future episode of the Beats and Speaks podcast. All right, now that all the housekeeping is out of the way, let's get into the main event, into the main course, into the meat of the episode as to why you are here. My question, is the Electro Voice RE20 still the industry standard? All right, so is the Electro Voice RE20 still the broadcasting and media production standard? That is the question this week right here on the Beats and Speaks podcast. Now, I may be a bit biased because I have a background in radio, television, all things media in terms of production and performance as well. As I started performing at the age of 6, so I've been doing this a long time. This will be my 25th year as an entertainer, and I started dipping my toe in terms of media production and things like that, radio, television, and, event hosting and things like that at the age of 15. So I've been doing this a little while. So I've got a background and I'm well versed in all things media and production. I've worked with the Electro Voice RE20, and that has been the industry standard for about 60 years. I mean, even Stevie Wonder has recorded with it. I mean, you can find certain performance videos of his on YouTube. and you can see him perform with it. But in terms of like radio and voiceover application in certain production houses and even in TV, I've seen the Electro Voice RE320. I've used it, or it's not the 320. I'm sorry, the Electro Voice RE20. I've used it and I've seen it in use in various applications in production houses and with various radio stations and companies and production establishments that I've worked for and worked with. And there's a reason it's the industry standard, and it has been the industry standard for about 60 years. And I think that all has to do with it is the most it delivers the most natural replication of the human voice. So what you actually hear if you're having a conversation with somebody without a mic in the way, if you have them in front of the Electro Voice RE20, that's the most natural and normal sounding replication of what they actually sound like off the air or off mic. And I can't, you can't knock that. You can't discredit it because it's been around for 6 decades or so. But the thing is, I've seen recently that, I don't know if all stations in Canada are doing this, but some stations in at least Southern Ontario, because that's where Toronto is, and that's where I currently happen to live and produce this show out of, there are stations in the city of Toronto and various parts in Southern Ontario where I've seen that they've kind of switched away from the Electro Voice RE20 and are using a Neumann microphone or a selection of Neumann microphones. It could be the Neumann BCM 705 or the Neumann BCM 104. It's one of those two because they both look very similar. And you know what? It's the Neumann family of broadcast mics, the BCM 705 and the 104. They're smaller, but I think given the application, if you're using this in a production studio, a television studio, a radio production booth, or a radio station, you'll probably get the same results, if you're using the BCM 705 or 104 as you would with the RE20. But I think that the BCM family of microphones, the 705 or the 104, I think they sound just a little bit brighter than the RE20. Now that's just, me putting my media guy hat on and just, using my ears and knowing what sounds good to my own ears, right? I think that the BCM family of microphones sounds a bit brighter than the Electro Voice RE20. To be honest, the first mic I used in a production environment was, my first radio gig was, the first mic that I used and the mic that they had was the Sennheiser 421 MD Mark II. And I love that thing. It's a really nice sounding microphone. Now granted, we didn't have, when I was using the 421 MD, we didn't have the, what do you call it, a pop filter in front of it. We didn't have a windsock on it, so you had to be really careful, or at least really have that thing pointed at the corner of your mouth so you didn't pop as much. But of course, when you learn how to do the whole radio thing, you learn how not to pop with your plosives, like your Peter Piper picked a pack of pickled peppers and put peanut butter soaked pepperoni on your pizza. So you learn those things as you go along in the industry. But the Sennheiser MD or 421 MD was the first mic that I used, and I liked it. It's a good sounding microphone. But getting back to the industry standard of the RE20, I remember the first time I used the RE20, I was in college and we were doing some voiceover for, I think it was a commercial or a promo, and we had an RE20 on a mic stand. It was a long sort of stage mic stand that you could extend into that had a boom pole that you could extend. And we were just recording voiceovers and commercials and promos and things like that. And it was great. You can see why it's been the industry standard because, like I said earlier, it gives you the most natural replication of what the voice actually sounds like. So, that's why it's been around for so long. I know certain stations in the States and companies, they probably still use the RE20. I know that KUPD out in Arizona, they still use it. And there are various stations throughout the world that still use it. But I think that the Neumann BCM family of microphones, whether it be the 705 or the 104, they're challenging for that top spot. I also understand that another contender would be the Shure SM7B. Personally, I think that mic is a little too warm. Now, granted, all these mics could sound different given the signal chain, whether you have when it comes to your cables, your interfaces, your preamps, and things like that. Depending on what your signal chain is, all these microphones could sound very different. But I understand that the Shure SM7B is also a radio microphone. It has been used for a long time in terms of radio stations, recording studios, television stations, production houses. And the thing is, for my ears, I think that's a little too warm because it's notoriously this gain hungry microphone. And I just don't feel like cranking my gain all, up to 90% just to get a clean signal. Now, granted, I understand that that's what a FET head and what a cloud lifter could be used for, but say you don't have that, right? I just, I don't feel like cranking my gain all that way. And for my ears, it just sounds a little too warm. I like the sound of the BCM 705 and the 104. They both sound very, very good. Now, granted, dollars-wise, you're probably looking at somewhere between $900 and $1,500 Canadian for either of those microphones. Whereas, with the Sennheiser 421MD, it's about $450 Canadian. With the Electro Voice, you're probably looking at somewhere between $500, $600, maybe $650 for the RE20. And I like all these microphones in their own application. They are really good. For my money and to my ears, my favorite microphone to use, whether it's on the air or in a voiceover capacity, in any sort of production capacity, if I'm using things to speak into, my favorite microphone is the Electro Voice RE27ND. I like something that sounds a little bit brighter. So, in my opinion, and to my ears, the RE27ND just sounds just that tinge bit brighter than the RE20 or even the Shure SM7B. So, I would go with the 27ND if given the opportunity. Granted, those are the mics that are still being used and are still in production. But my absolute number one top production microphone in terms of radio, television, for any media or speaking application, my absolute favorite mic would be the Shure SM5B, I think it is. It is a giant microphone, and it was used, I think, right up until the mid-2000s in a lot of radio stations. If you search for certain air checks, whether they're from Art Volo or CaliforniaAirCheck.com, the older videos from, say, the 80s into the 90s, you can see this mic, the SM5B, put to use, and it's really, really well, it is a really, really good, solid. It was a good, solid quality microphone for its time. But I mean, getting back to what I said about the Neumann mics and being a contender for top radio microphone, I don't know if you could say that the RE20 is still the industry standard, since stations within Canada, like I know that certain Rogers media stations have them now. I don't know if that's a company-wide thing, but I've seen that certain Rogers stations have them now. Stingray Digital has them at some of their stations, if not all of their stations. So that, it's things are switching over, things are changing, and change is not something to be feared. It's something to be embraced, and that's always a good thing. But that's just my opinion. I think that, the Neumann BCM 705 or the BCM 104, they are the new top dog in terms of microphones in radio, production, media, whether you're, working in television and things like that. If you're doing any sort of voice application, you would want the Neumann BCM family of microphones, whether it be the 705 or the 104. I mean, yes, you could still go with any of the mics that I still mentioned, whether they be the 421 MD from Sennheiser or the RE27ND from Electro Voice as well. You could go with the Shure SM7B. You could go with any microphone you wished. But in terms of like this, and these are just my opinions, and if anybody out there is listening and has a background in radio and production and things like that, I'll probably tag a bunch of the people I follow and a few of my friends in the media industry. Is the RE20 still the industry standard? What do you guys think? You could use any of these mics, but a lot of people have, at least from what I've seen, they've changed over to the Neumann family of BCM microphones, the 705, the 104. I think a lot of stations are also going with the Yellowtech Mica mic arms as well, because you just see that if a studio has to get renovated, they're probably going to go with the Yellowtech Mica mic arms as well, in terms of the things, the arms or the apparatus that holds the mic, so the personality can speak into it and basically give you an entertaining show. But to all my connections within the media industry, radio, television, production, whether you work in radio, television, or you have a background in sort of production in any way, is the RE20 still the industry standard? I think that the Neumann BCM family of microphones, whether it be the 705 or the 104, is a strong contender to take the top spot if it hasn't already. I know that certain stations within Toronto and the southern Ontario area have switched over. I know that Chime 96.7 out in Kitchener uses them. I know that Boom 97.3 in Toronto uses them. And I'm pretty sure that will become the new standard, the Neumann BCM family of microphones. Even though I know that the Electro Voice RE20, even though it's been around for 60 years, is still, some could still consider it the top dog. I know it's still used widely in stations, whether they're in Canada, the States, the UK, wherever. It's still used worldwide, as it should be, because there's a reason it's been around for 60 years, if not longer than that. It gives you the most natural replication of the human voice. But in my opinion, the Neumann BCM family of microphones is creeping up on that top spot in terms of top dog, and when it comes to microphones within the media and broadcasting and production industries. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments. Please do comment, like, share, and subscribe, and we will see you all and talk to you all next Friday for a brand new episode of the Beats and Speaks podcast. Remember to subscribe to us on YouTube as well under LEIGHTDICKEY TV. Rate us 5 stars, leave us reviews, and we'll talk to you all next week for a brand new episode of the Beats and Speaks podcast. I've been Leigh Dickey, and I'm signing off. We'll talk to you next Friday. Peace.
LEIGHTDICKEY.com.